to your course, Breakfast of Champions. Today, we will be going over why your breakfast is so important, how it can set you up for success, how it affects your hormones and your mood for the entire day, and we're gonna go over 4 awesome, easy, delicious recipes that you can make so you can slay your day. To seeing you in class. Let's get started. Your mom was right. Breakfast is the most important meal of your day. But why would that be? I'm going to give you a few reasons why you should be eating a better breakfast. Number 1. Breakfast literally means breaking the fast. You just went the longest amount of time without eating. Hopefully you didn't eat anything while you were sleeping, or you didn't wake up in the middle of the night to eat something, so you should have went quite a few hours without eating anything. So the first meal that you eat after you wake up is going to set your hormones up for success or for a blood sugar roller coaster. So I actually don't care when you eat your breakfast. It could be if you're hungry first thing in the morning, you could absolutely eat something. If you're not hungry till later in the day, that is okay. For example, I typically eat my breakfast or my first meal of the day sometime between usually like 11 and 12, sometimes even as late as 1, depending on how busy I am. And that's okay. As long as you find if you push your breakfast off in the morning, you're not absolutely starving at the end of the day. If you're finding you're super ravenous at the end of the day, it probably means you should eat your breakfast a little bit earlier because you kind of missed that blood sugar roller coaster time. So here's the deal. The first thing that you eat in the morning will either set your blood sugar up for success or set you up for this blood sugar roller coaster. If we eat things like sugar, highly processed carbs, the first thing that happens to our blood sugar, because when you wake up in the morning, your blood sugar should be fairly low, you're gonna spike it. And once you spike it, it's gonna drop off and you're gonna have these blood sugar roller coasters all day long, leaving you needing coffee, you want your donuts at 10 a.m., you want a mid-afternoon snack. We don't want that. We want you set up so when you eat your meal, you're full or satiated, comfortably full, for at least 4, 5, 6 hours. And by the time your next meal rolls around, you're like, yeah, I'm hungry, but you're not like, oh my God, if I don't eat soon, I'm gonna bite someone's head off. I've been there. I know what it's like. So for your first meal of the day, what we want is bigger than what most people think. Your first meal of the day, your breakfast, should be one of your biggest meals of the day. We want to make sure that your body doesn't go into starvation mode. It's getting the nutrients it needs, it's getting the nutrients it wants, and it doesn't think you're going to starve for the rest of the day, so you're not constantly hungry. So a big meal. Then what we want in that big meal is adequate protein and adequate fat. And then we want to keep the carbohydrates fairly low, because when our protein and fat is high enough, instead of our blood sugar spiking and dropping, we get this steady rise and this steady fall. So I personally really like animal protein for breakfast. This is your bacon and your sausage and your steak and your eggs. Anything that will come, so those animal proteins come with a bit of fat and they keep us full and satiated for a lot longer. I typically recommend people, what you're eating for breakfast, the protein you eat for breakfast, double it. If you typically are used to eating 1 to 2 eggs for breakfast, eat 2 to 4 eggs, and you'd be shocked to see how much fuller and how much more satiated you are for the rest of your day. So the recipes we're gonna make today are full of high quality animal protein. We'll even find some veggies. So I know vegetables are carbohydrates, but they're typically fairly low in carbohydrates and really high in nutrients. And because of the fiber content, they might make you feel fuller for longer. Many people, when they come to me for nutrition advice, they want to overhaul their entire diet. But yeah, that's an okay thing to do, but it's really hard to stick to and come with a long-term game plan. So I really like just focusing on breakfast. If we can make that first meal of your day really quality and really satiating, then you're set up for a better day, and chances are you'll be able to think clearer, you'll be able to work and be more productive, and you'll be happier and healthier overall. So you might be wondering about what can you drink in the morning. So I'm totally okay with coffee and tea. It's just, what are you putting in those drinks? I don't want you adding a bunch of sugar to them. I'm okay with you adding some high quality fat or high quality milk that's higher in fat. Things like heavy whipping cream, half and half, maybe coconut milk. Almond milk is okay, or those milk replacements. Check your ingredient labels, because often they have a lot of added junk. So if you can drink it plain, that's great too. Here's the thing. Anything with caffeine can also make you dehydrated. And at night, we do sweat more than we realize, so we wake up a little bit dehydrated. So before you go after that cup of coffee or that cup of tea, please drink some water first. That alone will make you feel a little bit better. All right, so today I'm giving you 4 awesome, high protein, high fat, satiating, filling, delicious breakfast meals that are not super complicated. I don't do complicated. I do things that are easy, they're delicious, and I can make them any time of the week. You can either whip these up first thing in the morning, some of them don't take very long, or you can make them ahead of time so you have breakfast all week. Let's get started. First thing we're gonna make today are gluten-free crepes. So this is a super easy and versatile recipe. What you'll need is a pan to make the crepe in, of course. You'll need something to put all the ingredients in to mix them up, something to mix it with. I'm going to use a fork. And then for the ingredients for the crepe, you will need 2 eggs. You will need a milk of choice. I'm going to use canned coconut milk because I typically eat dairy-free, but if you wanted to use a heavy whipping cream, milk, almond milk, pretty much whatever kind of milk you want, go ahead. We're gonna use tapioca flour because I find this flour makes it light and fluffy. You could sub a different flour in if you want it, but I'm gonna use tapioca flour today. A little bit of salt because I'm gonna make a savory crepe. If you were making this a sweet crepe, you could add honey or cinnamon. And then your fat of choice. So I'm going to use lard. So the first thing I'm gonna do is turn my pan on just above medium so it heats up. Once that's nice and hot, I'm gonna add the fat in. So I'll let that go for a little bit. While I'm waiting, ooh, it would help if I turn the right burner on, huh? While I'm waiting for that to go, I'm going to mix up my ingredients. So the first thing I'm gonna put in here are the eggs. So crack the eggs straight into there. Going to open the can of coconut milk and put 2 spoonfuls of coconut milk into there. It's about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put 2 forkfuls tapioca flour in here. And a dash of salt. Before I mix this up, I'm actually going to put my fat into the pan so that can melt. We're going to mix this all up. Once the pan is heated and the fat is fully melted, we'll just pour this right in. We were longer jiggly and fully cooked through. We'll turn the pan off, we'll take that off. I am gonna get it out of the pan, and today I'm gonna put salmon and cream cheese in my crepe. It'll be awesome. All right, the crepe is done. Like I said, mine's filled with salmon and cream cheese. I put some dill in it, so it's a much more savory crepe. It's one of my favorites. Other things you could put in here: bacon, lunch meat, other forms of cheese. It's a great thing that you can wrap up and take with you. You can put it in aluminum foil. I've taken this camping with me even. You can also make it sweet. So if we added cinnamon and maybe a little bit of honey to the crepe mix, which you don't have to do, but you could do, and you could put fruit inside of it. I love blueberries. You could do banana and peanut butter. There's literally so many things you can do with this crepe recipe, and it is so easy. That took just a few minutes. You have a delicious meal, quick breakfast in the morning. Enjoy. Next up are egg cups. These are a great grab-and-go breakfast option for you or for the kids. We did something similar in my Healthy Meals for Busy Lives class. We did an egg bake, but now we're gonna do it in cup size. So they're literally individual serving cups. We are gonna do almost a Denver style egg cup. So we're gonna use a green pepper, onion, garlic. I don't have ham, but you could absolutely add ham to this. We're gonna make 6 cups because I have this cute little 6-cup holder. You will also need some cup liners. I just find it way easier when you're dealing with eggs because they can be super sticky. And then we'll need eggs. So because we're doing 6 egg cups, we're gonna do 6 eggs. So it ends up being about 1 egg per cup. You can do maybe 1 or 2 more than that, but I wouldn't do too much or you're gonna overflow out of these. So I'm gonna start just by lining the muffin tin. And then we're gonna start chopping vegetables and putting them into a bowl so we can mix it all up. Let's go. I'm gonna start with the garlic. So we'll do 1 clove of garlic for this. You could also do powdered garlic or dehydrated garlic. It doesn't have to be fresh garlic. Do half an onion. We'll do a bit of pepper. And then to that bowl, we're gonna add 6 eggs. Scramble all that up. I'm gonna add a dash of salt also. We'll add just a little bit of salt. Gonna grab a 1/4 cup measuring cup so I can put it in there. So I'm popping these into the oven. The oven is set at 350. And we're gonna let them cook for 20 minutes. So I'm gonna set the timer. And I'll see you soon. All right, let's see how these look. cooled off enough to eat. It's steaming a little bit, so it might be a little bit hot. But these are the egg muffin cups. They bake up perfectly. You can keep these in the fridge so that people can just grab and go to take them to work, to school, to eat on the road, whatever you need. These are great, great options, and that really didn't take very long. So let's give it a try. It is everything you would expect an egg bake or egg cup to taste like. One other thing you could do, I'm just eating this and the peppers taste very crisp and the onions taste very crisp. You could easily saute those all up so they're cooked a little bit better. So when you bake them, they have a more sauteed flavor. I really like my vegetables cooked, so I like it like that, but this works out fine. But if you were putting something like sausage or ground meat in these, you would want to cook it on the stovetop ahead of time before you bake it into the egg cup. It just doesn't bake long enough to bake it all the way through, or to cook it all the way through. If you're in cheese, you could add cheese to this. You could sprinkle some on top. Some feta would be great on there. Really, any kind of cheese would be good on these. Any kind of veggie you're into, you could add to this. These are just another great versatile thing to throw in some veggies that maybe you have extra veggies in the fridge that you need to use up soon. It's a great way to use them. Kids love these. Kids love making these, so get them involved if you want them to eat a better breakfast. Enjoy. You'll love these egg cups. Let's keep going. Next up is a breakfast hash. This is a great one-pan meal that we can throw tons of veggies in. You can use up pretty much whatever meat you have on hand. It tastes delicious, it fills you up, and it's absolutely worth it. Super easy cleanup. So for the ingredients we're going to use today are a few of my favorites. I really like having Brussels sprouts, red onion, sweet potato, garlic, some mushrooms, some local pork sausage from my farmer, and we're going to use lard for the fat of choice. So we're going to start by cutting up the veg, but while we're cutting up the veg, we're going to turn the pan on and heat this up so it's ready to go so we can add the veg to it as we chop it up. So I'm going to put it onto a medium-high heat, and then we're going to start chopping up the veg. Starting with the Brussels sprouts. Do the garlic next. To almost your liking. We don't want them fully cooked yet because they're going to be in here for a little bit longer, but we want them mostly cooked through. I like my veg so they're just starting to brown. I'm going to push them to the side, and then we're going to grab our meat. I'm going to pop the pork sausage right into the pan. And we're going to cook that up with the veg. So the meat is almost cooked all the way through. We're gonna let it go for just a little bit longer. I like to make sure my meat is a little bit crispy. I like it crispy just like I like my veg crispy. But once it's all cooked to your liking, it's good to eat. I'm gonna make a big old bowl of the hash. I'm actually gonna put some hot sauce on it because that's how I love mine. And although the first two meals involved eggs, this one does not. But you could add eggs to this if that makes it feel a little bit more breakfasty for you, or you're feeling like you want a little bit more protein and some of that egg goodness. But I like it with just the meat and veg. We're gonna let this cool and then we're gonna give it a try. I love the pork sausage in here. It's my all-time favorite. The pork products that I get from my local farmer, it's usually Heritage or Berkshire pork, are like, hands down, my favorite protein source. You could also put bacon in this. I actually love bacon in my hash. You could do ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken. You could basically do any ground meat that you want. You could do just eggs and omit the meat if you're into that. You can mix up the veg. I'll sometimes do sweet potatoes, but I really also like baby potatoes, purple potatoes, yams. You could do peppers instead of the Brussels sprouts. I can't really think of a vegetable that you couldn't put in here. And like I said before, this is a great way to use up the vegetables in your fridge, but it's also a great way to have like 2 or 3 meals in one pan. You could feed a family, you could make meals for the rest of the week. This would freeze really well if you wanted to make a big pan of it and have some in the freezer to just grab and go whenever you're ready. Like, this is a really versatile and easy to clean meal. Is a breakfast meatball recipe. These are my apple cinnamon breakfast meatballs. So one of the most common things I get when we're switching up people's breakfast is that they get sick of eggs. And I get it. Eating eggs over and over and over can be a bit monotonous. So the last 2 recipes we're making today, the breakfast hash, you could eat that without eggs. And this one we're also making without eggs. Now, that being said, I'm definitely the type of person who, it doesn't matter if it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, food is food is food. And to be honest, if you learned anything from this course, it's probably that the food that we typically eat for dinner, we would probably function a little bit better if we ate it for breakfast. So feel free to change up what you define as breakfast, but I know there's some people who like breakfast has to taste like breakfast and dinner has to taste like dinner. I would challenge you to think differently about that, but if not, here's another breakfast style meatball that you can eat any time of the day, but super great for breakfast. What you'll need is a big bowl to mix it all in. We are going to use half ground pork, so 1 pound of ground pork, 1 pound of ground turkey. You could also use ground chicken. You could use 2 pounds of ground pork, 2 pounds of ground chicken, whatever you like. I prefer half and half of pork to some kind of poultry. We're going to do 1 small onion, or you could do half of a large onion, 1 apple, salt, and cinnamon. The first thing we're going to do is turn the oven on to 350 so it can preheat. We're going to chop the onion up first. Then the apple. dash of cinnamon, dash of salt, ground pork, ground turkey, and we're gonna mix it all up. Into the oven now. I had some leftover apple and onion mix right here, so I'm just gonna bake that with it because that'll be fun to eat. So we're gonna put it in the oven. We're gonna set the timer for 25 minutes, and I'll see you in a little bit. All right, the timer's off. I'm gonna check on those meatballs. Oh, they're just starting to brown and they look delicious. So we'll let these cool off and we'll give them a try. All right, the breakfast meatballs are cooled enough to eat. They look delicious. Lots of apples, lots of onions in them, just the way I like them. I love the sweetness of fruit with meat. I think we forget how good apples taste with pork sometimes. They're awesome in this. And we often associate sweetness with breakfast. Although we don't want too much sugar because, like I said before, it ends up spiking your blood sugar and puts you on this roller coaster for the rest of the day. But there's only one apple for that 2 pounds of meat, so it's not enough to really spike your blood sugar and create havoc for the rest of the day. We have enough protein in here to make sure you're satiated. Also, one of the cool things about cinnamon is it does a great job of helping to regulate your blood sugar, so just another reason to add it. So enjoy your apple cinnamon meatballs. Thank you so much for joining my course, Breakfast of Champions. I hope you learned something new. I hope you got to eat something absolutely delicious, and maybe you'll take the plunge to try eating like this for 30 days. In the resources below, I have all of the recipes in a PDF file that you can download and have on hand. I also have links to a ton of other breakfasts that match the protocol that we went over today, and I have a link outlining my 30-day breakfast challenge. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day.